Come on. Speak. Voice. Fucking voice. Oh god. I want to cough so hard. So, when I say currently reside, I mean my body. It's my current temperature, or not actually current, but was like a couple minutes ago. Or like 20 minutes ago. I feel ridiculous. I'm speaking shit to in a public chat. With my friends. Having a blast, being sick. Oh god. That's pretty close. Show defense. 1 day, 6 hours. Speaking about method of fuck, I don't know what the word is here in English. Okay, it's 37 paint, guys. Guys. Come on. No, that. Second is come on. Ah. Oh god. Uh, okay. I'm quite annoyed about everything. Hmm. Maybe I should drink some beating. Okay, first and foremost.
This is the path I
Need something? Ask my colleague.
Need something, ask my colleagues.
Clock out?
Clock the fuck out. No, not the coffee shop. Not yet. Mm-hmm. Ah. Fuck, it seems like infection got into my left ear. Hmm.
Eradicate all evil. Your case to solve?
Okay, what does he want? Guess both of them skills, equipment. Better than nothing. Oh, fuck. What if I just use LM? Crit, please. Wow, not bad. Not bad at all. Crit, please. Thanks, I guess. Oh, double crit. That's like not horrible anymore. I mean, it can go a limited amount of ways. I guess that's one of the ways. The most universal one. Interestingly enough. Not good. Do I even actually want this? Basic attack, dodge, counter, or egg special attack. Is using dash attack. Maybe I should go for a third vengeance that goes for like something else. Not good enough. Just not good enough. Yo, Ben, what's up with that? Man, there is no consensus here. Okay. True. Makes sense. Mm. Absolute fucking beauty. Mm-hmm. What does days do after it is, you know? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Wow. Like, the only one I would actually want to go for. Okay. Fuck. Duolingo, come on.
This is the path I follow.
Let's just go for this.
With pleasure. Huh?
Don't worry, I'm terribly weak.
Hope you enjoy it.
Full of openings.
Oh, fuck. Ты это...
Oh, that's amusing. Round them up. What? Don't we now?
That was 1 in 100, I guess. Here comes more trouble. Let's get this over with.
Oh, that's amusing.
That was 1 in 100, I guess.
Easy work. What? Don't we now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Ugh. Oh, God. Mm. Oh, fuck. Oh. Oh god. Come on. Yeah, what? What do you mean used battery? What's used battery? Yeah, what? Ta-da! Here's Chingy. Love you, Chingy. But I'm not going to talk to you yet. Let me silly goose. Охуенчик. Вау. Жиза. No, you have no idea. Mm. Wait, I thought our energy was, you know, like an accumulator, not like a battery. But apparently we just consume AA batteries like crazy.
Got new stock in today? Come take a look.
Ayo. Okay. Also, what use are polychromes for other citizens? Or monochromes? Well, monochromes are probably not really canon, but polychromes probably are. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. February 28th. Mhm. So it will be 5 hours earlier. So instead of 19, it's going to be 14:30. It explains why I haven't watched previous live events. Wow.
Do you ever see those Forbes 30 under 30 lists, and they might make you feel a bit down, as there seems to be at least 30 people on the planet who are under the age of 30 and doing a bit better than you are. Well, don't feel too bad, because maybe you would have been number 31 on the list. That's just the cruelty of cutting it off at 30. The people on the list, though, the ones who did make it, they probably just have more promising careers than you do. They'll have garages with Lamborghinis and books, while you keep all of your books in your house because that's where you thought they were supposed to go. One reason not to feel so bad is that as you dig back through some of the old 30 under 30 lists, you'll start to notice a bit of a pattern. A lot of the winners, in fact, often the ones that seemed most impressive at the time, seemed to end up going to prison, which probably wasn't their goal. Who knows, maybe they went on to become hugely successful prisoners, amassing a huge collection of cigarettes, which are the cryptocurrencies of prison. But sadly, things seem to have really fallen apart for many of the Forbes 30 under 30 over time. So who am I talking about? Well, in recent years, we've seen crypto hobbit Sam Bankman-Fried make the list. He was listed in 2021, along with a bunch of people with junior roles at banks. It makes you wonder who exactly puts these lists together. Oh, I guess that explains a lot. When I noticed the pattern of criminals and banking juniors, I was excited to read the profiles of the 30 under 30 criminals. After all, these profiles had been written right before everything had gone wrong. But that's just not how things are done at Forbes. They have a Winston Smith type working there whose job it is to rewrite the old profiles, keeping them up to date. The Sam Bankman-Fried profile has since been updated to include the fact that he lost all of his own money and gambled away his customers' money. I really feel it would have been much better if they'd preserved the original piece. There are still some artifacts to be found though. The update work has been sloppy. The current profile says that he can't live without Slack. He did after all love the auto-delete message feature. And it says that his dream mentor is Elon Musk. I'm sure they'll update that again in the future, listing his favorite prison food and that his dream mentor is DB Cooper. I don't know though, I don't want to be all negative about this. Just because Sam's going to prison doesn't mean that he won't achieve success from there. He can still hold on to many of his old goals. Maybe once he settles in, he'll do everything he can to get all of the prison cigarettes and then give them away to the prisoners in the greatest need. That's sort of a worthy goal, I guess. I don't know. So what other notable 30 under 30 alumni do we have? Well, on the 2012 list, there's a similar list of junior bankers and Martin Shkreli, the pharma bro. Prison had to be tough for a guy like Shkreli with such a punchable face. If you remember, the court struggled after his arrest to find a jury for his case because they couldn't find 12 people in the entire United States who didn't hate him. Some prospective jurors just saw a photo of him and said they didn't like the look of him. The 30 under 30 list, though, it's got quite a pattern. One criminal and then a bunch of junior bankers who do the coffee run at Credit Suisse. You need to either be under investigation for a federal crime or good at knowing the difference between a flat white and a latte to make this list. As you look at the list of people being praised by Forbes, you wonder if their criteria is to search for people with criminal tendency, and then they keep finding the occasional master criminal each year and a bunch of people who weren't very good at crime and so decided to get day jobs instead. If you've made it onto this list and you are not a junior associate at an accounting firm, odds are you're going to prison in the next 6 months or so. In fact, as soon as the people from Forbes call you up to let you know that you've made the list, you should probably start trying to secure a fake passport, as if you've any sense you'll be going on the run any day now. So who else made the list? Well, in 2022, months before their downfall, Caroline Ellison and Sam Trabucco, but apparently they just don't talk about her anymore. They're trying to move on from that. The rest of the list was just associates at Bank of America and AIG, office juniors who hired a PR agent. Now, while Elizabeth Holmes never officially made the 30 under 30 list, she did headline the Forbes Under 30 Summit, so I think she deserves an honorary mention here too. Trevor Milton, the bargain bin Elon Musk, was also on the 2020 Forbes list called 12 Under 40, which listed the youngest billionaires on the Forbes 400. The blurb reads, Trevor Milton, the 38-year-old college dropout behind zero-emission truck maker Nikola Motors, joins the ranks of America's richest millennials after tripling his net worth in less than a year. If you don't remember, Nikola, which was named after Nikola Tesla because the name Tesla had already been taken, famously made a demo video of its truck rolling down a hill where the camera was tilted to make it look like the prototype was actually driving under its own power. I joked at the time that they named the company after the wrong scientist. They should have named it Newton. After all, it was the world's first gravity-powered truck. Trevor Milton has since been convicted of fraud and is awaiting sentencing. The newest member of the Forbes Hall of Shame is Charlie Javis, who last week was charged by the Justice Department with falsely and dramatically inflating the number of customers of her company Frank in order to get JP Morgan Chase to overpay for it. Charlie founded her company Frank to help students apply for college financial aid in 2017 when she was just 24 years old. By 2019, she had been named on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. She described her company as like Amazon for higher education, a phrase that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's kind of like saying my company is the Tesla of pencils. Oh, are they electric full self-writing pencils? No, they're just pencils. Javis described herself as relentlessly upbeat in a podcast interview last year, saying, "There were definitely times where I painted a rosier picture than things truly were." And that, it turns out, was true. In 2021, JP Morgan bought her company for $175 million as part of its Chase retail banking division, with the aim of getting access to younger customers. Problems emerged almost immediately after the deal closed, when JP Morgan noticed that the delivery and open rates for its emails to Frank customers were far, far lower than expected. They launched an investigation and uncovered what US authorities now allege was a months-long scheme to fabricate user data. According to the lawsuit, Frank only had about 300,000 clients and fabricated data to show a much larger customer base. Javis is alleged to have enlisted a data scientist
is not
to
small.
make up a few million customers, which I guess can be described as painting a rosier picture than things truly were. The employee who was asked to create the false records allegedly told her, "I don't want to do anything illegal," to which Javis allegedly responded, "We don't want to end up in orange jumpsuits." Come on now, Charlie, you've got to plan a little bit better. Look at your CV. You're not a junior associate at an accounting firm. The minute Forbes called you, you should have booked a flight to a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States. It's not hard, Charlie. The signals are very clear. The magazine curse is not a new idea either. A group of finance professors from the University of Richmond in Virginia wrote a paper in 2007 on this very topic, entitled "Are Cover Stories Effective Contrarian Indicators?" Before I dig into that though, let me tell you about today's video sponsor, Incogni. Every year the absolute number and the scale of data breaches worldwide are rising. There were 68% more data breaches in 2021 than the year before. Once your personal data gets out there, the likelihood of it being sold on by data brokers is constantly increasing too. Data brokers aggregate your personal information, including your name, social security number, login details, location, online activity, and much more. They then sell this data to whoever will pay, which may be businesses wishing to market to you, but once your data's out there, it can fall in us too. The good news is that you have the right to protect your privacy by requesting data brokers to delete the information they store on you. The bad news is that it would take you years to do it manually. Incogni reaches out to data brokers on your behalf, requests your personal data removal, and deals with any objections from their side. Sign up for Incogni by using the link in the description below. The first 100 people to use the discount code BOILE will get 60% off Incogni. There's an old story that Joe Kennedy, a legendary stock manipulator, dumped all of his shares right before the 1929 stock market crash, saying, "You know it's time to get out when the Shoeshine Boys start giving you stock tips." Shoeshine Boys were the finance YouTubers of the Roaring Twenties. The 2007 academic paper suggests that the modern-day contrarian equivalent is magazine covers. The professors looked at 549 cover stories from 3 business magazines, Business Week, Forbes, and Fortune, over a 20-year period. They then went on to analyze how the shares of the featured companies had fared in the 500 days before and the 500 days after the publication date. This is because companies made the cover of these publications for both good and bad reasons. You probably won't be that surprised to hear that the companies that received the most positive coverage in the run-up to the publication date were top performers, having on average outperformed the stock market by 43% before making the cover. The companies that received negative magazine coverage were ones that had on average underperformed the stock market by 35% before making the cover. The academics discovered a reversal of fortune tended to occur after the articles were published. The high flyers period of outperformance came to an end, and the beaten down stocks went on to beat the market after the publication date. As the authors put it, positive stories generally indicate the end of superior performance, and negative news generally indicates the end of poor performance. The research shows that investing based on media enthusiasm can be destructive to your wealth. The magazine cover indicator isn't new. It was first published more than 35 years ago by Paul McCrae Montgomery, an American fund manager. His analysis of every Time magazine cover since 1923 led him to state that whenever a periodical has a cover story, it's been significant 85% of the time. When I worked for Victor Niederhofer, I helped with some of the research that went into his book, Practical Speculations. I'll put a link to that book in the video description. One of the studies that went into the book was an analysis on Time magazine's Person of the Year award. Victor found the award to be a hubristic curse, pointing out that the award had gone to companies or CEOs on 6 occasions, and the winning company's stock went on to deliver an average decline of 10% over the next 2 years versus an average gain of 20% for the S&P 500 for the same 2-year period. He similarly found that companies who had the naming rights to the world's tallest building tended to underperform the stock market in both 1, 3, and 5-year periods after the building was completed. And in a study that might have warned you about FTX, Victor found that companies that paid for the naming rights of sports stadiums also underperformed. Business Week was a magazine that was first published in September 1929, just weeks before the stock market crash. It was bought out by Bloomberg in 2009. Business Week had such a terrible history of wrong calls that sell when Business Week's cover says buy became a Wall Street maxim. They famously proclaimed the death of equities in 1979 and announced the dawning of the internet age in December 1999. They put Jeffrey Skilling, the CEO of Enron, on the cover in February 2001, praising Enron's strict risk management controls. Months later, Skilling resigned for personal reasons, and Enron imploded in the biggest bankruptcy in corporate history at the time. Skilling was eventually sentenced to 24 years in prison. As the economist Paul Krugman famously put it, whom the gods would destroy, they first put on the cover of Business Week. Now, the rule doesn't just apply in the world of business.
Ah.
The Sports Illustrated cover jinx is an urban legend that states that individuals or teams who appear on the cover of the Sports Illustrated magazine will subsequently be jinxed. An explanation for the Sports Illustrated jinx is that athletes are generally featured on the cover after an exceptionally good performance, which might be an outlier compared with their usual level of playing. After this exceptional performance, there is essentially nowhere to go but down. The statistician Francis Galton, while trying to explain data that showed the offspring of tall parents were on the average not as tall as their parents, and the offspring of short parents were on the average not as short as their parents, described this effect as regression to mediocrity, which was later renamed regression toward the mean. Chris Backey, a tech entrepreneur, tweeted last week that the Forbes 30 Under 30 have collectively raised $5.3 billion in funding, and the Forbes 30 Under 30 have also been arrested for frauds and scams worth over $18.5 billion, an incredible track record. The first number comes from Forbes, and the second is Backey's own calculation, but you get the idea. As a group, they have frauded 3.5 times the amount of money that they've raised in funding, which is an impressive level of fraud. You have to give it to them. They're dedicated to their craft. The line between innovator and fraudster seems to have become alarmingly thin. Look, if you work at a bank and the junior associate who does your coffee run has made it onto this list, there's a really good chance that they've taken your coffee money and that they're not coming back with the coffee. I'm sorry, but this list is a huge red flag that you should have spotted. If your name has appeared on the Forbes 30 Under 30 and you're running some sort of criminal conspiracy, it might be time to start planning your escape. The clock is ticking. On the other hand, if you made it onto the list and you're a junior at an accounting firm who hired a publicist to get this done, congratulations, but you really shouldn't be watching this video. I think you know better than anyone that the coffee is not going to make itself. If you enjoyed this video, you should watch my video on why people trust fraudsters next. Don't forget to check out our video sponsor Incognito. Today's video is sponsored by the Daily Upside, a totally free, high-quality daily business and finance newsletter. Visit the link in the description to learn more. In 1925, Victor Lustig was staying in Paris and noticed a newspaper article discussing the expense associated with maintaining the Eiffel Tower. The tower had originally been built as the centerpiece of the 1889 World's Fair, and Eiffel originally only had a permit for it to stand for 20 years. It was supposed to have been dismantled in 1909. In fact, it was designed so that it could be quickly taken apart, but the tower had been allowed to remain after the permit's expiration. By 1925, the monument had fallen into disrepair, and the city was finding it increasingly expensive to maintain. The news article that Lustig read suggested that public opinion on the monument would soon move towards calls for its removal. This sparked the idea in Lustig's mind that he could use the Eiffel Tower for his greatest con. Lustig set to work first hiring a forger to produce fake government stationery for him, and then invited a group of scrap metal dealers to a secret meeting. He introduced himself as the Deputy Director General of the French Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. He explained to the men that due to the high maintenance costs, the French government were selling the tower for scrap, but that the deal had to be kept quiet to prevent a public outcry. Lustig explained that he was in charge of selecting the scrap metal dealer who would buy and dismantle the structure, and that the group had been selected carefully because of their reputations as honest businessmen. The government had made this decision, he explained, after careful consideration of the costs and due to the simple fact that the structure performed no function and didn't fit in with the city's other great monuments. Lustig found his mark in André Poisson, who he identified as an insecure man who hoped to rise in the Parisian business community. Lustig arranged a private second meeting separately with Poisson, explaining that because of his low government salary, he might choose Poisson if he was paid a suitable bribe. Poisson paid the bribe, and Lustig fled to Austria. Lustig wasn't quite yet done, though, as he suspected that Poisson would be too embarrassed to notify the authorities of what had actually happened, and so he kept an eye on the French newspapers from Austria. When the story didn't turn up in the press, he returned to Paris later that year to repeat the con. On the second attempt, with a new group of dealers, one of them got suspicious and called the police. Lustig fled to the United States to avoid being arrested. In the US, Lustig continued with his career as a con man and even managed to con the notoriously violent mobster Al Capone. Lustig asked Capone to invest $50,000 in a crooked scheme. He then put the money in the bank for 2 months and returned it to Capone, claiming that the deal had fallen through. Capone decided that he was dealing with an honest man. When Lustig explained that the deal falling through meant that he was penniless and unable to support himself, Capone gave him $5,000 to tide himself over, which had been Lustig's plan all along. Lustig is alleged to have written a list of the 10 commandments for con men, which we'll get to shortly. But in a nutshell, con artists like Charles Ponzi, Bernie Madoff, and fraudulent businesses like Wirecard, Theranos, and FTX exploit the fact that we go through life assuming that the people and businesses we deal with are real and honest, and that there are institutions and processes in place to make sure that we're treated fairly. In the book Lying for Money, Dan Davies explains that trust is necessary in society, as it means that we don't have to spend all of our time on pointless checks. He points out that most deceptions could be caught quickly with basic due diligence, but nobody actually wants to spend.
All right. Yes, that's everything I'm going to do for this stream. Good luck, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.